All right, guys, as promised, I am going to do a quick lesson on, I guess I should say, I'm going to share the answers from today's exercise with you. I apologize for the delay, but a few things came up, and also I had some trouble recording my screencast. I haven't done this in about a year. Actually, it's been about 8 months, and I ran into a couple of problems. I'm actually using a new program called Snagit, so I really hope this works, and I hope it doesn't cut me off. That said, I should try to be as concise as possible. So here we go. So I had given you guys this exercise here, and if you haven't seen this, it's on Blackboard under IEEE stuff. We have two short paragraphs. Looks like there's some attempt at some citations and a references section. And it looks like the student who did this hypothetical student, did their homework, they did their research, they tried to include some sources, but it's just a complete mess, you know. There's no consistency, it's not an IEEE style, there's missing citations, and so on. So if I got something like this, by the way, which has never happened, but if I got something like this, I would probably send it back to the student and say, do it again. So first things first, what we need to do is look at any place where it looks like the student is referring to a source, and we need to change that to IEEE style. Okay, so let's just go step by step. Recently, scholars have suggested that too much information might lead to social problems, such as the spread of fake news, Graham, as well as individual problems such as changes to the human brain, Carr, and increased anxiety in Bodden and Robinson. Okay, so in this one sentence, it looks like there are three sources being referred to, which is fine, but this is not the way we do it in IEEE. The way we do it in IEEE is we use these numbers. Okay, and again, what does the one refer to? All that means is it doesn't mean this is my best source or the most important one. It just means this is the first source I'm using. And because here it's number one, it should be number one in the references, okay? References have no numbers either. So I'll just put one here, okay? That this is Douglas Graham, that was Douglas Graham, okay? As well as individual problems such as changes to the human brain. Carr, do we have a Carr? Yes. Down here, Nicholas Carr, that's his last name, okay? Now, even though he's number three in the references, that doesn't matter. He is number two here. Why? Because he's the second source we're referring to. So before we forget, let's just make sure he's number two here. And number two follows number one, so we'll move him there. Okay. I'll worry about the formatting of the references later, but this is the first thing we should do. And increased anxiety in Bodden and Robinson. Do we have a Bodden and Robinson? Yes, we do here. Okay, that looks like a source of some kind. So this shall be number three. And because it's the third source we're referring to, and it's number three here. So in this essay, let's say this essay went on for 20 pages, 10 pages, whatever. Number one, which refers to this Graham article, will always be number one. Even if you put it here, you would only use it if you want to refer to Graham. Or if you want to refer to Nicholas Carr's book, it's number two because we refer to him first as number two. In our essay, he's always number two. Doesn't matter how many times you refer to him, okay? All right, moving on. This issue is of great concern because there's more information, blah, blah, blah. More than 4 billion people are now mobile broadband users, granting each the power to access, create, and share information. And it looks like we have another citation here, International Telecommunications Union. So I'll just say here, square bracket 4, okay? We don't use these brackets in IEEE style, by the way. Number 4, and do we have international? Yeah, International Telecommunications Union. This is the source here, so this should be number 4. And it will always be number 4 in what we're writing. Next sentence, the increase in information availability has changed how people live. As Herbert Simon writes, this sounds like a new source, right? We are now, quote, drowning in information. All right, so let's just change that to number 5 because it sounds like it's a new source we haven't referred to yet. And yes, we do have a Herbert Simon down here. So let's change that to 5, okay? Now, it's a book. Herbert Simon's work here is a book, and there's a quote. So if there's a page number, because we're quoting him, we need a page number. So let's say page 26. Okay, normally you don't invent page numbers, but I'm just doing it here to illustrate. But yeah, never invent page numbers. If there's no page number, there's no page number, that's fine. But I can usually tell when there is one. Okay, so that's the first paragraph. Next paragraph. Human beings have limited mental powers. Studies have shown that we are limited in how much information we can attend to and how much information we can mentally process. Therefore, too much information can overwhelm us, endangering our mental health. For example, a study by Bodden and Robinson found that information overload can cause not just anxiety but also depression. Okay, so it sounds like we have, again, information coming from a source, and we're even told which one this is, Bodden and Robinson. That sounds familiar, because that's correct, because we already had them down here, right? Assuming it's the same article, right, that we're referring to. So what do we do here? Well, we already referred to them as number 3, so that's what we're going to do this time. Anytime we refer to that source, it's always number 3 in our essay. Okay, so the first number you give it, you keep it like that. Indeed, as information has increased, so have mental health problems. According to a survey, this sounds like another source, according to a survey conducted by the New York Times, anxiety rates for teens have increased by 20% over the past 10 years. Okay, so now because the student didn't do their homework properly, we have to do a bit of digging, right? Is there anything about the New York Times? Yes, this final source here, Karen's Rake, New York Times, okay? It's the most popular, well-known newspaper in the world, has hundreds of millions of people reading it every day. Okay, so this is we've already had 5 sources. This is the 6th one we are referring to. And so again, all we do is here, I'll put a 6, and here I will put a 6. One more sentence. You can ignore this last one, by the way. Nicholas argues that this anxiety has risen with the increasing use of smartphones. Okay, so 2 things. First of all, you should know this by now, but some people forget. You never refer to scholars and experts by their first name in academic writing. We just don't do that. I know in this part of the world especially, we like using first names. My students in Kuwait and here in UAE, they call me Professor Arbi, Dr. Arbi, something like that. Or, Professor Nicholas, something like that. In academic writing, though, we never do this, okay? You can use his first name if you want. That's okay. But normally, the last name is enough, okay? Carr argues that this anxiety has risen with the increasing use of smartphones. Okay, so we fixed his name, but what do we do with the citation? What number do we use? Well, we've already referred to him, right? Nicholas Carr, that's his book, so we just do number 2 here. Oops, number 2. Okay, so that's it. That is the easiest way to fix the in-text citations, and you can see it didn't take that long. Okay, you can use that references tool in Microsoft Word I showed you guys, change this to IEEE, insert citations. You might find that easier. I don't do it that way, but I like doing some things the old-fashioned way. I just find it more satisfying. But if you might find this useful, and if you do, go ahead and use it. But I'm showing you even the old-fashioned way doesn't take that long. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the references section because, yeah, this is a mess too. But we fixed the worst part of it, okay? The worst part was these in-text citations. All right, so first things first. Douglas Graham, The Real Problem with Fake News. The Atlantic Monthly, blah, blah. Okay, so first things first, we know, well, first of all, I made a mistake. His name is actually David Graham, and I'll show you. If you Google it, Graham, The Real Problem with Fake News. Atlantic is the name of the magazine. Click on there. Now you'll notice something interesting. So this is an article from 2019, June of last year, but long before there was COVID. And his name is David Graham. So I had made a mistake, but that's okay. Do you know why? Because in IEEE, we don't even use the full name in the references section. We just use the first initial. So whether his name was Douglas Graham or David Graham, it doesn't matter. You just do D. Graham. The last name is the more important one. Now you'll notice the last time I had accessed this was February of this year, just before the lockdown, and they actually changed the title. The article's the same, but they changed the title. This is something I just noticed today, and that's okay. That's why it's important to put date of access and things like that with electronic documents. So let's just do that right now. Some real news about fake news. Okay. Okay. Comma, the Atlantic Monthly. That's the name of the magazine. It was published June 7th, 2019. Online. Available. I will probably give this, it's better to give this full URL here. Okay. Accessed February 16th. Actually, no. 5 October 2020. Okay, let's just make this look a little neater. Okay. So that's it for the first one. All right, number 2. This one's easy because it's a book. Books are easy. Nicholas Carr, The Shallows, What the Internet is Doing to Our Brains. That's the title of the book. City of publication, publisher's name, year. That's it. Okay. And just so you know, I'm not making any of this up, or I've even memorized this. This is the Murdoch site I showed you guys. I encourage you to keep bookmark this and keep coming back to it. This site is your friend. 99% of the time, it is correct, and it tells you pretty much everything you need to know. Okay, so it shows you a sample reference list. It shows you also some in-text citation stuff like we talked about today, and some tips on IEEE style, things like that. So if you go to book, where are we here? Books. Book, single author. Nicholas Carr is one person. This is how they list it. Author's name, title of the book, the city, publisher, year. And books only, I mean, you only need the pages if it's a book chapter. I don't know why they have the pages here. And you notice that the rest of them don't. Okay, like this one doesn't, for example. Okay, so that's that. That's a book. And just to show you the David Graham one, this is an online newspaper magazine. It's the same thing. I'm trying to remember, how do these guys show it? Yeah. Newspaper articles from internet, they don't list magazines. You treat them the same way, by the way. Newspaper articles from the internet and magazine articles from online, it's the same. Author's name, title of the author, or sorry, let me try that again. Author's name, title of the article, in italics, the title of the source, where it came from, so the title of the newspaper or magazine. Paragraph 3, you can completely ignore that. I don't know why they put that there. The date it was published, online in square brackets, and available, and then date of access. Okay. So no matter what source you're looking at, pretty much the format is very similar. You begin with the author, the title of the thing you read, the title of the place it comes from, and then the date of some kind. And if it's an online source, the URL. That's pretty much it. Okay, but you'll notice that for electronic documents that can change, it does give a date of access, because as we just saw, the title can change, something can change, maybe the URL can change, right? And so as long as you say, hey, I accessed that article yesterday or last week, and this is what it looked like when I looked at it, then you're okay. Okay, next source. And again, let's just do the hanging indent because it looks much nicer. Okay. Bodden and Robinson, Information Overload and Anxiety, Journal of Information Science. Okay, this here, you can probably tell by now, this is an academic article written by two people, D. Bodden and L. Robinson. Okay, that's good so far. And it looks like this here is the title of the article, so let's do that. Comma here. Journal of Information Science is the name of the journal. It's already italicized. Volume 35. Number 10, and then we have a date and a year, a date and page numbers. The only mistake here is you need to do this. Pages there, and the year. And just to make it look nicer, I will do the hanging indent. Okay, that's it. Number 4, one of the reasons I was delayed with this supplemental lesson is this this source gave me a huge headache. I wasn't quite sure what to do with it. I checked the Murdoch website, I checked other websites, I even checked the IEEE's own guidelines on how to cite something like this, and I got 2 different answers. So I was scratching my head and kind of going nuts for a while. And with weird sources, I'm not going to care too much about this kind of stuff, so don't worry too much. But if you look at this source here, I have the URL very conveniently. Let's try to see what kind of source this is. Yeah, Measuring the Information Society report, you can click on it. Volume 1, Volume 2, you can get a full report, okay? So this looks like it's some kind of a free report by some, international agency. So it's not a book, it's not a newspaper article, it's also not an academic source, right? So if you go to the Murdoch site, follow this one here. Internet document, electronic document. They cite something very similar here. I would just go with that one. They also have an example of this is what confused me. Scientific and technical reports. I guess this is for printed stuff. But this to me looks more like something that's much more specific and technical. Maybe it's like I don't know, a technical manual for some machine or something like that. This here is more for something like what we're looking at now. Where are we? Yes, this one here. A report by an agency, or down here, a government publication. Okay, very similar. We will talk about these reports the UA government publishes very frequently on things like agriculture. We might talk about those and use some of those in a couple of weeks. So I recommend doing it this way. Okay, so there's a couple of ways you can do this. Don't worry about it too much, but there's usually with these, there's often no author, right? Or certainly no person or no people wrote this. I mean, it's a bunch of people. It's an organization. So the best way to do this is just you skip the author, you cite the title, and then here, let's see, do you need to italicize that? No, I don't think so. Oh no, you do. They italicize the organizing body, okay? International Telecommunications Union 2017 online and the dates, okay? And I can tell just by, like, if you cite something like this, I know that's going to be something like a technical report, okay? So don't worry. But yeah, don't worry about that too much. Okay. Number 5, Herbert Simon. Okay, first things first, we know that in IEEE, always, we do the first initial followed by last name. We never use bold or anything like that, okay? And New York, Macmillan, 1976. This looks like a book to me then. Assuming that I cited it properly, which I did. This is a book, so this is how we show books. You just italicize it, that's it. Just like we did with Mr. Carr over here. Oh, and I forgot something here. Not sure if you guys caught that, but yeah, I almost forgot my own rule. So always, first initial followed by last name. Okay, and last but not least, we have Karen's rake. Teenagers say depression and anxiety are major issues among their peers. The New York Times, the date, online, available, and all that. Okay, so first things first, we just need the first initial, her last name. This looks like the title of the article, comma, and the New York Times, as you know, is a famous newspaper. We italicize that. We have the date here. It's online. Available, I need to provide the URL here. What's the title? Teenagers say depression and anxiety are major issues. Okay. And her name was Rake. Here we go. Just so you know I'm not making this up. This is the article here. Okay, it's from last February. or was last February, feels like 6 years ago. Okay, so here's the URL. All right, and the only other thing I would do here is give it a hanging indent to make it consistent. And yeah, that's it. Okay, so the in-text citations are good and the references are perfect, okay? And like I said, don't worry about that report thing too much. Like I said, some of these things confuse me sometimes, and you might run into this problem occasionally, but just do the best you can with unusual sources. But for things like books, magazines, newspapers, academic articles, they're pretty easy. And again, you don't need to memorize it. Just go to this Murdoch website and you should be okay. All right, so I hope that was useful. I will post the answers online right now so you guys can take a look at them as you wish. And just a reminder, we will have our in-class exercise, or sorry, in-class assignment, which will be graded on Wednesday. I will likely send you guys something tomorrow to read, just a couple of pages, ask you to bring them with you, and I will give you a specific task on Wednesday during class time. All right, so I'll see you guys then.